The last broadcast. They laughed for years. The ladies of The View built segments around Melania Trump's accent, her fashion, her silence. Every smirk, every jab, every dismissive chuckle was broadcast to millions. They called her a trophy, a ghost, an enabler, a mannequin in stilettos. Joy Behar once joked, "She's a wax figure with better hair." It was good television, easy applause, but the audience never asked where the line was, and neither did they. Until one day, they crossed it. It began on a Thursday. Sunny Hostin came in late, looking pale and sleep-deprived. She claimed it was nothing. Bad dreams was all she said. Whoopi Goldberg waved it off with a laugh. "What, Melania chasing you in your sleep?" Sunny didn't laugh. The segment that day was business as usual, a quick hit on Melania's rare public appearance at a museum opening, a new dress, a jab at her forever frown. They rolled a clip, then bantered about who designed the outfit. But something lingered in the air. A silence after the laughter, like a room waiting for a response it never got. That night, Joy Behar didn't sleep. Joy's dream was not a dream. It felt staged, like a set. She stood on the View stage, but the studio lights were off. Everything was washed in gray, silent, hazy, too still. The air smelled of roses and static. In the audience sat dozens of women, motionless, each wearing the same pale blue coat Melania wore on Inauguration Day. None of them clapped, none blinked, and then came the sound, heels, sharp and deliberate, walking across glass. Melania emerged from the shadows behind the camera rig, her face unreadable, her hands clasped in front of her like a mourner at a funeral. She said nothing. She only stared. Joy tried to speak, but no sound came. Her tongue felt foreign in her mouth. Melania raised a hand, not to wave, not to gesture. She simply pointed. The lights flared. Joy woke up screaming. "I'm not doing any more Melania segments," she said the next morning in the dressing room. "I don't care if she flies to the moon. I'm done." Whoopi rolled her eyes. "Come on, it's just stress." "Number, I saw her." "You dreamed about her." "So what? You probably have dreams about Mitch McConnell tap dancing in a tutu too." Joy didn't laugh. Later that day, while reviewing footage in the editing room, an intern paused on a frame that hadn't aired live. In the background, behind the panel, a figure could be seen, faint, tall, standing where no one should be. The frame glitched a moment later. 3 days later, the teleprompter malfunctioned live on air. Words twisted and stuttered, letters fell off sentences, then a message scrolled across the screen, not part of any script: "I see you." Whoopi assumed it was a prank from the booth, but the control room staff swore they hadn't typed it. That night, Sarah Haynes received a package with no return address. Inside was a photograph, an 8x10 of her at her desk from behind, taken just hours earlier. Scrawled in red ink on the back, "Still laughing?" The next morning, Sarah didn't show up. She was found hours later, locked in her car in the studio parking lot, still breathing but wide-eyed, whispering something no one could understand. Her hands trembled violently whenever someone said Melania's name. The show continued, but the laughter didn't come as easily. The audience noticed. The energy shifted. Segments became shorter. No more jokes about Melania. In fact, her name vanished from their scripts altogether. Then came the tapping. During commercial breaks, when the lights dimmed and the music played, a rhythmic tapping echoed in the studio, sharp, like stiletto heels on linoleum. But no one was walking. "Check the mics," Whoopi snapped. The crew found nothing. They moved to a new studio across town. The tapping followed. One by one, the women began to unravel. Sunny quit without notice. She never gave a reason. When producers called, her husband answered. "She's not talking to anyone," he said. "She's not herself." Sarah stopped sleeping. She took a leave of absence, citing nervous exhaustion. Her neighbors said she left all the lights on at night and covered her windows with blue curtains. When asked why, she simply said, "She sees through glass." Ana Navarro became increasingly paranoid, bringing a small mirror with her everywhere. She insisted on checking it before every taping, muttering that it was the only way to know. Alyssa Farah Griffin tried to play the skeptic. "This is ridiculous," she told the others. "Urban legends for ratings." But after one live segment, she was found frozen in the makeup room, staring into a blank vanity mirror, her reflection missing. Whoopi tried to push through, but even she couldn't ignore the presence. She felt it backstage in the dressing room mirrors, the subtle pressure of being watched. Once, she caught her own reflection smirking at her. And then Joy disappeared. Gone. Vanished between her apartment and the studio. No security footage, no note. Just a single fingerprint burned into the inside of her bathroom mirror. It wasn't hers. The police opened a case, but the footage from her building was erased. One blurry frame remained, a still image of Joy entering the elevator. In the reflection of the doors, a woman in a pale blue coat stood beside her. The show went on hiatus. ABC denied anything was wrong. But the staff knew, the control room operators, the makeup artists, the interns. Everyone had seen something, a shadow where no one stood, a figure in blue walking between sets after hours, the whisper of foreign words no one could place, and the dreams, always the dreams, the stage, the women in coats, and Melania, staring. 6 months later, The View returned with a new panel. No mention was made of the previous cast. The new women were younger, smarter maybe, but they never joked about Melania. They never said her name. Even when prompted, they demurred. "We don't cover former first ladies like that," one of them said on air. "We're focusing on policy, not people." It felt like a shift in tone, but off camera, they kept mirrors covered. Never stayed in the studio alone. Never mocked the silence that followed whenever someone mentioned the past. They all knew. The producers didn't explain, but they didn't have to. The interns whispered warnings. The new cast listened. There were rules now, unwritten but ironclad. Never rehearse alone. Never say her name after dark. Never touch the blue coat in the costume room. Some say Melania made a deal. That, in exchange for keeping her peace all those years, she was given something older, something ancient. A name, a truth, a power. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't post a tweet. She only waited. And when they laughed loud enough for long enough, they invited something in, something old, something patient. They weren't ready for what answered. And now they are quiet. No official statement was made. Joy's house was sold. Sunny moved overseas. Sarah filed for early retirement. Ana Navarro went silent on social media. Alyssa disappeared from cable panels altogether. Whoopi returned to Broadway briefly but never spoke of the show again. When asked in interviews, she only offered a tight smile and a dismissive wave, as if brushing away a fly that wasn't there. But behind closed doors, she kept her mirrors draped and her closet locked. And Melania? She remained silent. Photographed occasionally, always poised, always alone. She never acknowledged the show, never responded to the years of jabs, the open mockery, the television snark. But in certain photographs, especially those taken near glass surfaces, if one looks closely, just closely enough, they might see reflections that don't match the scene. A figure in pale blue, watching, always watching. They laughed for years, but no one's laughing now.